What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Tonight, it's just going to be Kat and myself. Brant was exhausted, so he decided to take the week off. I apologize that I had kind of a little bit of a family emergency last Tuesday night, so I wasn't able to make it. I had to, kind of bail out at the last minute, but I am here this week, and it was a heavy week in the comic book department and in the news department.
Yeah.
We will talk about Absolute Power during the news portion of the show. I think today we're going to kick it off with the comic book. So I know, Kat, you didn't read as many comic books as I did. But how many comics did you read?
I read 10, so I had a solid amount for myself. Usually I personally like a good 12 or 13. I think 10's a little less than I normally would like, but 13 is a good amount for me. I'm like, cool, there's just enough, but not too much. But yeah, I had 10. I liked my books this week, so there wasn't anything too crazy. But I was saying to Mike that tomorrow there's not a lot of issue ones. There's just a ton of continuation type books. So we'll see where that takes us next week.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Listen, I bought 23 books, and I think I read through 18 of them. I was away for the weekend, so I wasn't able to, quite finish it off. And one of the books I didn't get a chance to read was Wonder Woman, just for the pure reason, I know how Tom King writes.
Yeah, so it's dense.
You really need to be focused and engaged in that story at that moment in time. And I felt like there just wasn't a time where I could have really did it, So I was like, God dang it. So I'm just going to have to hopefully read it sometime, this coming week. So
it's definitely it's an issue that progresses the story a lot. So I think once you read it, you'll hopefully enjoy it. I've been loving Wonder Woman. So I thought it was a really good issue, but, I understand it is. I honestly always read it first because of that. Because I'm like, once I'm on number 11, I don't want to be reading a Tom King book. So I always try to get it. It's always a really good book for me. But yeah, sometimes you got to really put the time into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome to the 20 viewers that are on so far. Hopefully we'll get more of you guys joining us. We got Kendall Kidd that's on, the name that changes, and Sean Ali that's on right now, as far as I know. But yeah, guys, so we're going to get started with the comic books for this week, and we're going to start it off with Nightwing. So here we go. Nightwing issue 113. This is milestone 300. So this was the 300th issue of this book. Tom Taylor's book is an enjoyable read of the character, right? He really knows how to give the character a lot of praise. We've done a few things with the character, but when it comes to the overall story progression of the series, it's always been very, very slow, and that's been my problem with it. And it seems to be kind of more of the same here when it comes to it. Did I enjoy the story? Yeah, I enjoyed the story. Was there a lot of story progression in it? No. But it is
not to be expected. Not to be expected in that way.
And I feel like this was the last kind of hurrah before the final arc starts to happen and things finally start to really amp up for the series. At least that's what I'm thinking anyway.
The next arc is the last arc for Nightwing. We'll see where Nightwing ends up taking, or we'll see what a creative team ends up taking Nightwing. But yeah, I like this issue. I agree. Did it blow my socks away? No, but I think it did what this book usually does very well, which is just good character moments. I enjoyed, Nightwing being Oracle for a little while. There's some good family moments here. But yeah, not much plot progression for sure, because of the way that the series is laid out. I don't know if we'll ever really get that, but I think if you like this run a lot, this is a great issue. If you do not like Tom Taylor's writing, you're going to continue not to like his writing. If I don't know why you're still reading the series if you don't like his writing, though.
Right, absolutely. The Black Knight is on and couching and slouching with C. Bizzle. He says, "Good evening, everyone." It is good to. It says, "Good evening, everyone." Is it going to 3 people? No, like I said earlier, I know you're probably just coming on, but Brant's not with us tonight. He needed some rest. He's had a very busy week. So he told us a couple hours ago that he wasn't going to be on. So it's just going to be us two today.
And it's a busy week to come for him. He's going to be doing a Comic-Con. I'm sure he'd want us to promote that. It's in Texas. I think it's called like Central Texas Comic-Con. So if you're in the area, go check that out. But as someone who does a lot of Comic-Cons, yeah, they're tiring. And the way that Brant's been prepping, he's doing a lot more than we usually do. He's like he did a lot. So yeah, I'm sure he's very tired from doing that as well. But hopefully next week, all three of us will be on to talk some Ultimate Spider-Man, because we always and Gwen Stacy's in that issue too. So I'm very excited too. Oh, the crowd couching and slouching's in Texas, so maybe they'll swing by. Who knows?
Very cool. And then the name changes. Just wound up saying, "Did you hear about the people burning pictures of Tom Taylor?" Listen. I did. We actually shared that article in our private chat with each other. And, when it gets to that point, like, you shouldn't even be reading comics like that.
You should check yourself, because, he's a human being, just like everyone on the internet. Like, I don't get it, man. I don't like at that point. Yeah. Check yourself. As much as like you like Spider-Man, you like Nightwing, it's not worth real people's health and real people's especially mental health. Like that's imagine you having a picture of yourself being burnt by people. That's probably not great for the psyche. So no matter what you think of Tom Taylor's writing, don't be a jackass, so that sucks. And I hope if you send Tom Taylor good wishes, if you read something of his that you really like, go send it to him. I'm sure that'll hopefully lift up his spirits too, because I'm sure that was not the greatest experience for him.
That's why people don't want to write these characters, because they're afraid they're going to get bashed. It's just
or death threats, or even worse.
We're so quick to do the negative, but when do we ever send the positive for all the good that he's done? Right? Sure. I mean, he has written definitely great stories. Is there stories out there that I didn't personally enjoy from him? Yeah, sure. That's like that for a lot of writers, right?
But how can you read a story from a writer and like every single thing they write? I feel like that's almost impossible.
But at the end of the day, you got to always remember, these people are human beings. This is what they do for their living. They're not out there to make your life freaking miserable. And if you take a comic book that seriously, remember, it's just a comic book, to the point where you got to burn the people's pictures, then you got issues. You just shouldn't read it anymore,
Yeah, and look, you always have those old stories. We always say that too. If you really don't like what's going on with the character currently, just read your favorite book again. Like it's that simple. So just do not attack people. Do not be mean to people. You do not know what people are going through. And again, just imagine being in those shoes. If that happened to you, would you like it?
Right.
Probably not.
Right, exactly. To think about how someone criticizes you when you're at your workplace, right? How do you feel when that happens to you? It's the same thing, okay?
Except this is on a grander scale where thousands of people on the internet will see it, which really sucks.
Right. Exactly. All right, so let's continue going forward here. Let's talk about Spectacular Spider-Man issue 2 before I talk about Cobra Commander. Spectacular Spider-Man issue 2, I enjoy it. I think, is it the best read that I've ever read? No. But what I do like about it is I like the interaction between Peter and Miles in this comic book. I love Roberto Ramos's artwork. I love the character interactions between our two Spider-Man and like the other school kids. It kind of gives me that Strange Academy feel to it. I think, again, the artwork does a lot for this comic book because it really brings all these characters to life. And I'm very curious on
nostalgia.
I'm very curious on like what this weird place that all these people are going to kind of get their best life, right? But there was some similar instances in this comic book as there was in the first issue. Like, instead of fighting the Jackal this time, it was like, hey, let's fight Vermin. And I'm like, that's very repetitive from the first issue, instead of progressing more of the story. That was like my only little nitpick about that book.
Yeah, no, I had a fun enough time with it. Again, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Is it the best Spider-Man book ever, or at least in my taste? No, I I like comedic Spider-Man and I like Avengers Spider-Man, but I also really like introspective Spider-Man, which you're not really getting here, which is not what the book's about. It's about, you know, pals being
Team up.
pals, team up, and it's honestly supposed to be kind of a popcorn flick. So if you're looking for a blockbuster Spider-Man, it's here. And I think Humberto Ramos's art fits really well for it. There's times where I feel like the cast is a little bit too big, and I'm just like, oh, where's Miles and Peter? Because they're kind of hardly in this issue. It's a lot about this love triangle that's going on, which I didn't really quite care about. And then I got confused because I was just like, okay, so she likes this person but doesn't, and then I'm like, oh, I guess it has to do with the villain.
Yeah, it does. I think it's just like it has to either she's cloned or he's. Something with their emotions is going on that changes them. Something is going on.
Tevia says it's better than Amazing Spider-Man. I forget if Spider-Man came out this week. I think it was last week. But honestly, these last two arcs I've actually been enjoying. Like, I like the last issue. I'm interested to see where this Peter Parker thing goes. For me personally, if I had to compare this arc of Spider-Man to this arc of Spectacular, I've actually liked this arc of Amazing Spider-Man more because, again, I like introspective Spider-Man. That's kind of what I enjoy from him. So this is a little bit more cartoonish for me, but doesn't mean that this isn't a more solid series because there's times where Amazing Spider-Man I'm very disappointed with. But these last couple of issues, I'm like, okay, this is actually what I've been wanting to see with Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wish we got that type of artwork on Amazing Spider-Man.
Sure. All the time.
That in itself makes a huge difference. It bumps the book up a little bit when you have that because you're able to do more on the pages and tell more of a story. Where unfortunately, John Romita Jr. artwork is just his artwork's not the same as it once was, and I feel like he just either he can't keep up or it's just can't do the poses the way that maybe he once did or whatever the issue is. It's just he's just not the right artist for the character anymore. And you can see that. You can see the other artists on what they can do. And then you can see the weaknesses on John Romita, who in the last story arc that he did, it was like constant faces. And that was it.
Thank you, Trev. We appreciate this. I just want to mention I love your content. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, one thing I was thinking about the other day, I was just like, man, we dog on Amazing Spider-Man so much. And I was really thinking about like the recent issues. I'm like, oh no, I really am thinking about like gang war and times where the book really hasn't been great for me. But that's like, no, actually these recent issues I've been enjoying and they've all been in my top 5. So I want to be fair to the book, and not just judge it as things we've seen before.
Well, like I've said this constantly, like whenever this book is not in a event like Dark Web or gang war, it's had its glimpses of hope, right? Where it was like, we saw that Craven storyline, right? In the beginning, when it launched, you had, the Tombstone story as well, or you had that Hobgoblin story, or you got the Gold Goblin stuff, which that stuff seemed okay. But anytime they do some kind of event or something, it like brings the book down. Or again, whenever the story is supposedly supposed to be big, and then that's when John Romita comes back. Not only is the story not that great, but the art is not that great either. And so you get this combination of stuff and it just completely brings the book down.
No, I agree. I very much agree with that.
All right, so let's go on, and I'm going to talk about Cobra Commander real quick. Cobra Commander is a great book, man. It's just really interesting to see Cobra Commander kind of manipulate his way out of certain situations. And we found out that there's the character Nemesis Enforcer who's in here who was going to destroy Cobra Commander after he found the Energon. And they found another scientist to produce the Energon or whatever it is. But Cobra Commander kind of prevails in here, and he winds up, winning and whatnot. And I feel like in this issue, we wound up got a brief introduction of what's going to be maybe the Insecticons. And I know, Kat, you don't know who the Insecticons are.
I feel like I've heard of the name, but I don't know what they do.
They are Decepticons. And it's like we got kind of a version in this comic book. But overall, Cobra Commanders is just an absolutely phenomenal comic, and I love every single issue of it. So definitely a must read for me. All right. So with that, we'll just dive right into our number 5. So what was your number 5?
I was Jay Garrick, issue 5. It's issue 6. It's the last issue of the miniseries. If you enjoy Jeremy Adams' run on the Flash, I think you'll continue to enjoy this. It's just a fun series where we get to see his daughter and him team up. They fight a villain, and that's kind of it. It is your run-of-the-mill Flash story, but I feel like it injects enough personality where you're like, you know what? I had a fun time with this. I like seeing what these characters are up to. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel at all, but some titles like this one doesn't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right. It was hard for me. I had a lot of comic books I really enjoyed this week. So I'm gonna give this one kind of a tie. I know this is cheating for me.
Breaking the rules. That's okay.
It's breaking the rules. But for me, it was a tie between Miles Morales, Spider-Man, issue 19, and Superman, issue 13.
Okay. Talk about Miles first, since I don't read that one.
So Miles was really good. It was kind of continuing off of the, I guess, the issue 300 from the last issue. And Miles is battling his new arch nemesis, Rabble, right? And the fighting was super intense in this comic. And the art was really well done to the point where he was just like, he lost his eyesight. And in the comic book, they change it to where it's color and then it goes to black and white. And I thought that was, it was a good transition in the coloring department there and in the art department. And just, you felt things were really at stake here. There was desperate times for Miles in this comic, and it just delivered on all levels. And at the end, he winds up defeating Rabble, but you can see that this is going to be a rivalry for a very long time. And this is like, they finally came out with a character that is like Miles's true arch nemesis. And that's when this comic tends to get better, is when he's going to have his own rogues gallery, right? I'm happy that Cody Ziegler has finally come up with that for him, you know?
No, I'm happy you guys have been enjoying Miles. He's deserved a good series for a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the next one was Superman issue 13, which is the Brainiac story.
What did you think of the Action Comics Part 1 first? Because you weren't on for that.
Oh, I loved it. I know it was really, really good. That one was better for me because it just reminded me of like how a movie would open up, like everything's all happy and light, and then all of a sudden you get this invasion, and it's typical movie style introduction, you know, fast pace, and then you get the title page, and then all shit hits the fan. And in this book, we wound up getting like more of like the insight, you know, certain things starting to develop, like something's wrong with Brainiac. We get Superman teaming up with Lobo, him trying to catch up to Lex Luthor, and then Lex Luthor teaming up with Brainiac so Lena can, you know, stay out of trouble in the book. There was a lot of moving pieces, and then you wind up seeing what was it, Kara and Connor wind up like shrinking down, like in like what the fuck is that movie called? The Incredible. Oh my God, I can't even think of it.
Is it an older movie?
Yeah, it's that older movie where they shrink down.
I mean, all I can think of is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
It was like that type of moment right there. So overall, it was fun. I really enjoyed it, man. The artwork is great in this book too.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot too. I agree. I think Action Comics was obviously the start of the event, so you have that great opener with Lois, and you're seeing what this event is about. But this is a good second part where you get to see, again, what are the characters up to? How is this going to be a big moment for the DC universe? And we'll probably talk about this topic a little bit further when we talk about Absolute Power. But I've been enjoying DC's events a lot more than Marvel as of recently, because it does feel like they're more character driven, and the event feels like it's affecting things. Like Beast World is a great example where it was a great character driven story that is affecting things. We're getting to see Amanda Waller in Absolute Power. We've seen Amanda Waller in Green Arrow. Titans have been heavily affected by that event. But like Gang War or Amazing Spider-Man, they've forgotten and nothing has been affected by it. So I've been, these last two events have been really good at DC.
Yeah. And then you got Blood Hunt that's right around the corner for Marvel. And just, I'm hopeful that it's kind of like a Beast World. You know, I am hopeful for that. So we'll see what happens because they got a lot of their line that's attached to it. So if it's going to suck, people are going to just completely drop it and not even buy anything, you know?
No, I agree. And I look, I'm going to pick it up. And just like the Venom event, what's it called? What was the Venom event called from a few years ago?
Oh, King in Black.
King in Black. I remember I picked that up. It's like, oh, King in Black's going to suck, you know, because I hate events. And then I picked it up. I'm like, oh, actually, I'm having a really good time with it. And I hope Blood Hunt could be similar. But I definitely don't like events in general. So you're going to have to do a lot to win me over.
Right. Yeah. All right. So what was your number 5 then?
Mine was Flash. We already talked about it. So.
Okay, cool. All right. So we just talked about Superman. And so let's talk about Roxon Presents Thor.
I didn't know you were going to pick this up because I was like, oh, Thor, you're going to pick it up.
So listen, I wasn't going to pick it up. There was no intention at the comic shop. I was at the comic shop and one of my guys that I meet there at store opening said, "Are you not picking up Roxon Thor?" And he's like, I'm like, "No, man. It's like, I don't read Immortal Thor." And he's like, "But it's Worthy Ones. You got to talk about it on Worthy Ones." And I'm like, and he's like, "And your thing is themed around Thor." And I'm like, "No."
Sure.
He's like, "But it's a comedy book." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And then the comic book shop manager said, "It's hilarious. Like, you got to read it." And I'm like, "All right, fine." And oh my God, this book was hilarious. It was so freaking funny. Yes, it was so good. It's like this parody comic. Like, it does play off of Immortal Thor from what I heard, but it's just
it was an event.
But no, it's not. It's about this like guy. His name is like Chad something, and he's like doing like almost this infomercial for Roxon. And it's just like, oh, hey, it's like an AI thing. And it's just like, he does this fight, he does these battles and everything else like that. And he's like selling all Roxon products throughout the entire comic book. It's just hilarious. Like Enchantress makes her appearance in here and just, there's so many little funny things in there. I was like dying. I was laughing out loud. And Thor even looks at the comic book at one point. And he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "This is not me." And it was just hilarious. It was just something really different. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad it was better than expected because, yeah, it sold for me. I was just like, oh, it's going to be an Immortal Thor tie-in, a book I'm not reading, so I don't need to get this. And I also never like Roxon. I think they are so boring. Anytime they show up in a Marvel comic, I'm like, all right, not good, you know?
I agree, but this was funny. They were like, this guy, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm going to take the Thor-mobile." And he gets in this thing and he's like, and they do this thing. They're like, "It's only $999,999.99 to purchase this." And then they're just like, I don't know. And then there was like current lawsuits going on. So when they would advertise something, they would say like lawsuit pending. It's just so funny. There's just all these like little things. It was great, man. I loved it.
I'm glad it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I like when a book does that. Let's see. Let's talk about. All right, Dudley, Datson, and the Forever Machine. So this was a Scott Snyder Substack, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was on Substack, but I know it's a Scott Snyder thing.
Yeah, because when you bought this book, it was 2 chapters.
Okay, so it probably is then.
Because it looked very familiar to me. I don't know where I saw it before, and then I read it, and it was good. Will I continue it? Maybe. I think it depends on the week, because it's not typically a book that's up my alley. There's like a lot of time traveling and stuff like that. I originally bought it because 1, it was Scott Snyder. 2, there was a corgi on the cover, and so I really liked it. And it was just like this inventor who is in the wrong place at the wrong time winds up acquiring this mission that has to do with a watch that deals with time travel. Pretty cool book. Not bad at all. It's pretty heavily involved. It's Scott Snyder. You know how he's
Always a lot of writing.
Yeah, a lot of world building and things like that. So there's some Greek mythology involved in it as well. So it was good. I liked it. Something different. We'll see if I continue it. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I skipped that one because I think with Scott Snyder, he has to really grab me, honestly, with his premises, because it's a big investment. It's like a Tom King book where you do gotta sit there for like 30 minutes sometimes to read his book. So I gotta really enjoy it to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on now to number 4. What was your number 4 book?
Mine was Superman. So we already talked about it.
All right, mine was Batman Offworld issue 4. It's a great book, man. I think Jason Aaron's done a really good job with it. We get to see Batman still in space. He's like a year 1 Batman, and he wants to save the galaxy from like these. They call them, I don't know if it's a Black Sun or these types of space pirates who are obviously killing people, which are orphaning kids and doing all this other stuff. And, he was supposed to be back at Gotham. He's not at Gotham. Commissioner Gordon's using the bat signal. No one's coming. And it's kind of funny that way. But Batman feels like he has to finish this mission out in space. Great character interactions in this comic. Fantastic artwork in this book as well. Really love this book. It was a little while since the last issue came out, so I'm happy it's back, and I will be continuing. I think we got one more issue left.
I know you've been enjoying that one.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see. So now we're going to talk about Ultimate Black Panther issue 3. So what did you think about this one?
This series is good, but I don't know if it's for me. I like Black Panther a lot with the movies, but I'm just not invested in these characters as comic characters, and I don't know if this book has made me invested. So I don't know. It really will depend on the week next time it comes out, because it's just not grabbing me as much as I wanted to. It's a little slow. So I'll drop this, honestly, I think before Ultimate X-Men, because at least I'm waiting for Nico for Ultimate X-Men, because I'm like, I just want to see what she's up to. But I'm not as engaged as I want to be. Gotcha.
Yeah, this issue was a little bit slower. I still liked it. We had some cool cool interactions between T'Challa and Killmonger, and then meeting up with Storm in this issue, right? But it wasn't like a lot happened in the book. So it's kind of like, oh man, I wish there was more. Just as the story started getting going to the fact of what they found at the end of the issue, you're like, oh man, finally something happened. And it's like, oh shit, now I gotta wait a whole other month for, the next part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't even see Storm that much in this issue. She's not really until the end.
Yeah, she's like a couple pages, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I'm going to continue it. And, because I like it, I think the artwork is good, and I want to see where the story goes. I feel like it needs a little bit more time to flesh out. And, so, when it comes to these Ultimate books, there's not that many of them. So I still think they're
Avengers is coming, though.
Yeah, I know. I still think there's enough there to where I can still read all of them, and I don't need to drop anything right now. So we'll see. I
do like how they're rolling them out. It doesn't feel like X-Men overwhelming, or like, I don't know what to get. It's like, all right, there's, get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's see. You read these next 2 books.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk about Kill Your Darlings. I'm going to get some water.
Yeah. Kill Your Darlings. I thought it was a solid enough ending. I feel like this last act wasn't as strong as the first 2, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. The art is always really good, especially if you're doing that final boss battle. And the ending is pretty predictable, but I think it's a really fun ride. And if you haven't read the series, go check it out. Hopefully, Mike, you get to finish it off because I think it was a pretty good beginning, middle, and end. And still, it's not like Specs, where I feel like it was a perfect series,
Right.
But I think it was a really, really fun ride. And again, the artwork is some of the best on stands. So let's kill your darlings. Wonder Woman, I really, really liked. It has to do with Wonder Woman being inside her head while she's being controlled by the lasso of lies. So you get a lot of mythology about how the lasso of truth works, how the lasso of lies works, and she's in like a 1950s reality where like she's with Steve, but she's a housewife, all while she's trying to fight the lasso of lies. So it's a really, really cool issue. So hopefully when you get to read it, Mike, you'll enjoy it. But I really liked it because I think it progressed the mythos pretty well, progresses the story well, all while telling this unique Tom King styled story that he likes to do. So I like that one.
Cool. We got a question, and we'll definitely answer this in a little bit.
Yes.
Are you guys excited about the upcoming Namor series by Jason Aaron?
Wait,
all the news is coming after the comics this week, guys. So we will definitely be talking about that stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of big news pieces, as you saw. There's been like 3 or 4 that people mentioned. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna talk about all of them. So we thought it'd be better to save that for the end.
Tevi says you can skip Ultimate X-Men.
I mean, I guess you could. But the thing is with Ultimate X-Men, and I said it last week, is that it reads like a manga. So
yeah,
mangas usually have 6 issues in one volume. This is like reads like a manga, but released like a comic. So it's a strange book in that way.
Right. Exactly. And then you're going to get to learn a little bit about the characters slowly. And then eventually they're going to wind up doing things together. Right. But what is being done here is you're just getting to learn about characters. And sometimes that's okay, man, because then you'll be more vested into the book in the long term, you know? So, all right. So we talked about those. So we're going to go dive into number 3 now. So what is your number 3, Kat?
Mine's Kill Your Darlings. We already talked about it.
Mine is Avengers Twilight. We're on issue 5 on this one. Freaking awesome book, man. I mean, it's just balls to the walls action finally in this issue, to where now the Avengers have all come together and they found out that they're doing battle against Red Skull. And it's just so brutal, everything that happens in here. Tony Stark comes face to face with his son. They're fighting each other. There looks like there's going to be a nuke that's going to hit the United States. And then at the end of the issue, you wind up getting the Hulk. I didn't even think that the Hulk was going to make an appearance here, but he totally makes an appearance at the end. And it's just like, that's freaking awesome, dude. It's just when you think that this book could not have any more Avengers, he shows up. And I was like, damn, that's good shit right there. So this was my favorite issue of the whole run so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this concludes. I think we got one more issue after this. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm thinking at this point.
Yeah, so I know it's a mini series, so
yeah, yes, it is. All right, so we talked about Miles Morales. Titans is another book that I didn't get a chance to read this week. What happened in Titans issue 10?
Let me remind myself what happened. Oh, it had to do with like the Trigon and Raven's brother. So they're trying to infiltrate Raven. Raven's still cursed. So I think by the end, let me see if they're trying to figure it out. Oh, Amanda Waller shows up with some random Guardians of the Galaxy looking character.
Looks like Nebula.
Yeah, it looks like Nebula a lot. Yeah, it's just that Raven's becoming more evil. The brothers try to fight them, and that's about it. There's not a lot of progression besides that cliffhanger and Raven's story, but it didn't make my top 5 because of that. The artwork is really good, but it's Tom Taylor's style of writing. It's right. A little slower.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now, like that, we're just going to go to number 2. So, what was your number 2 then?
Mine was Nightwing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. My number 2 was actually Cobra Commander. So we talked about that one. All right. And then we're going to talk about, well, first I want to talk about our number 1. What was your number 1?
Mine was Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed the
Okay.
issue.
And mine was a book that we're going to talk about now. I heart Skull Crusher, or I should say,
Really?
I
Oh,
love
that's
Skull
so
Crusher.
interesting. That was my least favorite book this week. So this is
Really?
gonna
Oh
be a
my,
fun conversation. Yeah.
oh my God. Did you like the first issue?
I liked it enough because I thought it was like leading to a sports story, and then this issue is just like, here's all these characters, and it was so anime and balls to the wall, and I was like, I thought this was gonna be a sports book.
But it is, though. It is. It's like a Bad News Bears or like Major League underdog story, and
But
it
they don't
still
play
is
any
that.
sports.
They do too. They have a whole match in this issue.
Let me say
They have a whole match. She explains how the whole game is played.
I maybe it's just not my type of sport, but I'll defend on that one.
Sport, screaming paintball. Like, come on, man.
I see the card.
They literally do fighting against, like, they battle against this team right here. They actually play. They're trying to win the tournament. You probably read this and wasn't even paying attention.
No, I definitely was. I forgot about the sports playing though. There's just so much going on. There's so many characters to keep track
they're
of.
Playing right here. Look, like here's the ball right here and everything. Like it's right there.
Looking. I see the match that's being played here. Maybe I was thinking differently on this one. I don't know. I just don't like it. There's two. How do you follow all these characters? There's like 20 of them.
It's not. No, there's like 5.
There's 5 on the team, and then the people they're versing.
And the people they're versing are nothing characters. They're throwaway characters because all they do is they wind up winning the match at the end. 3 of them wind up becoming like zombies and they get destroyed. And the only character that survives is the team captain at the end of the last issue, or at the end of the issue, which is that guy right there who was the team captain of the other team. And that's it. That's all.
I'm looking at the sport playing now. Look at everything's so close up. Like even when they're playing the sport here, like the panels you're showing here, everything is so close up.
Because like,
and then the zombies show up. That's the thing. Is it really a sport? Like, I don't know.
Well, the problem is that the kid that they recruited by default, basically, this kid right here, he got infected by mutants. And so what happens is he winds up getting infected and he wound up turning into a zombie and he wound up eating the players in the game. And that's how they wound up dying. Plus, you can kill people in the Screaming Paintball League. Like, you can kill them. It's part of the game. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. I don't know how you don't understand this. You read some of the most complicated shit and you don't understand this.
I think it's just for me, and it's very anime. That's the best way I could put it. It is very anime.
It's all the way it's anime.
It's so hyperactive. Like, yes, because I agree. Let's talk about like Tom King, right? Which was my pick of the week. It's very dense and it's very like, this is what this person's doing. But this is very like, it's fun, right? It's whimsical. So I don't like whimsy. I'm sorry. I tend not to like whimsy that much. So it's just like, I don't know. There's something about the vibe that gets very convoluted to me. Even when you're describing like, oh, and this is the zombie and this guy controls this and this guy controls that. I'm like, slow down. And maybe if it was like a Marvel or DC book where I know these characters for 20 years, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know that Magic does this all the time. These are new characters. So it's hard to soak it all in with a whole new sport that has to be described.
Right. And so I understand what you're talking about when it comes to new characters. Like, I totally get that. And this book is animated enough to where I can understand who those characters are. Like, Trini is the main character.
Yeah, no, they don't look the same, which is nice.
Has a very distinct feel, right? So, but where if you read James Tynion's World Tree or The Nice House on the Lake, and
they all look very similar.
They all look similar. Yeah. And so you can't tell them apart. And so that's when you lose me, right? But when characters have a distinct feel to them, then that's where I can understand who they are and get their personalities, right? So that's why for me this is not very hard to follow. So I don't know. I like this book. I think it's fun. I think it's something different. And you know, it's something that I don't take seriously either. I just it's fun for me. So, but I get what you're saying. Like, it's very anime. It's very in your face, and that's what anime is.
Sure. And I think that's what I was trying to say about like the sports element, right? Like I'm more used to, let's say, a basketball game, right? You're right. They're versing the person by the end, but it's very like, oh, there's this demon, there's this, there's that, there's that. Though you're not really able to follow like the game. You know, I don't know. I don't understand the rules. I just like I like more straightforward sports stories where the sports story is more about, and maybe they're trying to do this here, is more about the characters, more about their journey. And
Yeah,
I'm sure that's where it's going.
that's
but
what it
because it's
is.
so hyperactive, it's hard to tell that.
Right. It's more about her passion of the sport.
The first issue spelled that out a lot. This issue, I don't know if it did it as much. The first issue, they very much went into that.
Right.
And I actually I felt like the first issue felt very different from this issue because that one was really describing the characters a lot.
And this one described more of what the sport is.
Right.
So if you don't take the time to slow down and try to comprehend it,
right,
I can see where you can miss that. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, no, for sure. And this one I'm sure is like read quickly and like, all right, I don't like it, you know? And so because sometimes you do read books like that where it's just like the first 10 pages, you're like, I'm not into this. And then you're reading through it and you're like, whatever. And I feel like that kind of happened here where I read the first, because again, I like the first issue. I think it actually was in my top 5 where it just felt like such a different book where I was just like, I don't know if I like this anymore. And this writer in particular, I usually like a lot. She did she did Amazon Attack. She's writing Shazam now. No, I actually want to read the name changes.
Was it
the only sports book?
Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. Josie Campbell.
Campbell.
And she's written some really great stuff. So, you know, this wasn't my vibe. We'll see if I get the next issue, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the name changes says the only sports book I've enjoyed lately was Fence, and I thought that was a strong book. I don't remember if I kept Fence on the news, but Fence is coming back. That was actually a really good example of a book that I think balances. But again, it's a sport that exists already, but balances the game with the kind of love triangle anime, very anime style book. But 2 different types of animes. Again, I would say this anime is more like, I'm trying to think, what's really in your face? I don't know, JoJo Bizarre, whatever. I don't know enough about that anime.
You're talking the wrong person when it comes to anime, but
Fence is more like those, like Yuri on Ice, you know, more like here's this like love triangle thing going on.
Right. Did you guys talk about Uncanny Valley last week?
I love that book. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed the idea that the mom is this cartoon character most likely.
Exactly.
And the son even gets separated from her. So I just I think it was a really perfect first issue. Tony Fleeks does a great job at that. He knows how to like set up story and make you interested in reading issue 2. And I think sometimes books have a hard time doing that because you're like, don't worry, everyone's going to read the second issue. I don't want to say almost doesn't trust his audience, but he's like, no, I want for people to have a reason to pick up issue 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
JoJo Bizarre, whatever. Cat, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Look, I got pretty close. I was 1 word away. Or the thing I was trying to describe before the cartoon.
Here's a question for me. It says, Mike, I know that you always say support your LCS by buying comics, but how else do you support them? I asked because my last trip to Adventure Underground, my LCS, I also bought a store jacket as well. Hey, listen, I feel like if you could buy anything at your local comic shop, like you're supporting them, whether it's a comic book, a shirt, a jacket, whatever it is. Let people know that they exist. If they say, hey, where do you go buy your comics? Well, I buy them over here, right? So that's what I would say. That's how you're supporting your shop. Like in my videos, I always, my comic book haul, I always say, hey, I go to my local comic shop and I shop at Comic Central, located in the city of, Sanford. So if you're ever in the Central Florida area, make sure you stop by. And that's supporting the shop. They don't pay me to do that. I don't have to do that. I do that just because I feel like they are a good shop. And I feel like I'm helping or doing my duty to help a small business, so that's how I support them.
Yeah, I mean, you can support your shop just by getting your pull list every week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do. Like, I shout out JHU as much as I can, but also just like pick up your pull list. That's But if you want to get the jacket, you want to get the shirt, do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's it. That's all the comic books.
I think
So,
I don't think we talked about Spider-Woman, which was just fine. Star
oh,
showed
did we
up.
not? Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah. So, what did you think about Spider-Woman?
I want to like this series more than I do, but it's just like it always feels like a one-off, where it's like she's fighting Star. I hardly remembered that character existed. And then she's like, oh, gotta get Jerry. I miss Jerry. And then like reminds you that her son's missing and then kind of moves on. And it's just like all the other Spider-Woman series have been so good. So to get this that's just kind of there, not bad, but not great, it's kind of disappointing.
I feel like it's like it's like you're traveling with her to get to this next point in the story, right? And it's like she had one issue with Spider-Boy, right? And it's like, okay, and now you have another issue, this time with Star. And it's like, did you need a second issue to go between, San Francisco? Did you need 2 issues for that? And it's just like, who is the character she's even going to face next? I don't even know who that is. And
do they say in the end?
You see, look at the back page. You'll see.
Oh,
Who
it looks like Arana, but maybe a different version of her, because it's like a Captain America Arana. She's still a single mom. Yeah, kind of. People like she doesn't really have her kid anymore, and people don't know that the kid exists.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is maybe it's even. I don't think it's the 2099 version. I don't think it's her.
I don't know. So I just don't know where this story is going to go. But same like you, like I really want to like this, and I'm hoping that the story gets better as time goes along. It just needs a little time to get there. But yeah, bringing in Star was a very random thing to do.
I literally forgot she existed. Again, I think you had to be a real hardcore fan of that and I think she was in Captain Marvel. That Captain Marvel run to because Star was just like a blink of the eye and she was gone.
Yeah, exactly. We got a question. It says, this is from Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Kat and Mike, did either of you read Last House on the Lake, Department of Truth? If so, thoughts on their returns coming up here? So
I read some of Last House on the Lake, and I read like 2 issues of Department of Truth, both not my thing. You read all of Last House on the Lake, but I think you dropped Department, right?
Yeah, Department of Truth I dropped, which is not normally something I do with like creepy horror books, but it was like, I don't know, it wasn't like 100% up my wheelhouse, right? You know what I'm saying?
It's like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know. It wasn't like hitting it for me every single issue. And I think that was my issue with it. Nice House on the Lake, Nice House on the Lake, I enjoyed. I didn't like the break in between. And just like I told Kat a little while ago, like I forgot the characters. And when the artwork is very similar, it's hard to make out so many of the characters. But I did enjoy the story. I thought it was something a little bit different. But my favorite James Tynion story is Something is Killing the Children. That is my favorite story by far. A great character growth with Erica Slaughter in here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming back tomorrow.
It does come back tomorrow. Ronan says this is Bat Spider-Woman. Her being pregnant was the worst thing that happened to that character. Also, too many spider characters. I actually really like the pregnancy story. I thought it was very different for her.
Very different.
Yeah,
And it
I
still
enjoyed it.
showed that she was a badass, and it
Mhm,
wasn't the pregnancy wasn't going to stop her. And it
mhm.
showed her having a relationship. And listen, Jessica Drew, out of any Spider character, she's the one that needs to be around because she was the one that was around freaking first. Like she was
And
like
she,
the first other Spider character,
and
right?
she's not really related to Spider-Man. Like all the other
No.
ones, they have to hang out with Peter. They're really connected to him. Jessica is just by name a Spider Woman. Like her stories are very disconnected to the rest of
Yeah,
the Spider characters.
true. The way she got her powers and everything else is
No,
completely different.
and just
Yeah.
that she was more of an Avenger. That
Yeah.
was where her stories were always connected to, and she never really hung out with Peter. So there's nothing to really mix and match there.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so I guess with that, Kat, let's go ahead. We'll pass it to you now. Go ahead and do that news now.
Yes, let's plug some Kickstarters first, and then we'll
Sure.
go into the news. So I have two, believe it or not. I'll
No,
plug
that's not a surprise.
right. No, it's not. That's the one thing that shouldn't be a surprise. So this is Witches of Oz. This is a book we were really looking forward to releasing. If you like Wicked or Wizard of Oz, it's our take on Wizard of Oz, where we get to see Glinda and the Wicked Witch finally get together. So go check that out. Terry Moore, legendary artist, actually did a cover for us. So there's some cool covers you could get there. I'm going to post the link in the comments for that. Next up, which I think, here we go. Let me share this one. This one might be up your alleys too. If you guys don't like the not safe for work stuff, this is completely safe for work. If you enjoy the indie books on shelves right now, I feel like it's more in the vein of that. It's called The Last Case of Devin and Taylor. It's our take on the kid detective, and we want to explore what happens when the kid detective grows up. So we get to see it through Devin and Taylor's their adventure. And in this issue, without spoiling anything, this is the bloodiest and most personal case they'll ever go through. So it's a 4-issue miniseries that dissects this genre. So if you enjoy like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, and you like slashers, I think you'll enjoy this. Me and Phil are really big slasher fans, so that's a big element of this book as well. And honestly, I really recommend you guys read the preview, because that if that sucks you in, it's honestly some of our best writing and our favorite writing that we've done. We wrote this for a long time. We actually wrote this for over a year. So we're really proud of this book. So go check it out. All right. And I'll put the links in the descriptions for all that. But here's the Witches of Oz. So the Witches of Oz is going to be the first link. And then the second link is going to be the Devin and Taylor book. So let's jump into the news. We're going to start with the trailer that came out, the Wolverine and Deadpool trailer. And I got to say, it's been a while since there's been a superheroes trailer that has actually excited me and be like, oh shit, I want to see this movie. And this one does that. I think it's very much a parody of Marvel. It's also its own thing. It feels a lot like the comics, just like the previous Deadpool movies. So I am very excited for this one.
Yeah, I think this movie is going to be great. And being that we have not had a really great Marvel movie in quite some time, and being that there's a lot of fans of Deadpool and there's a lot of fans of Wolverine, and with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, people are going to want to see this movie. I mean, I already know even before that trailer came out that people are going to want to see that movie. And this kind of reinforces that. It was a great trailer, just seeing, Wolverine in that yellow suit, that iconic suit, and just them fighting with each other, and just all the humor that is in this trailer in itself. It made me laugh out loud. I think I watched it 3 times. It looks that good. I think this is going to be breaking some records here. This is like, when you watched Logan, did you see Logan? Yeah. So this is like Logan, but just more humorous,
I also think it's gonna, for the nostalgic people of X-Men, I think I'm sure it's gonna have some references to that. Also, there's just not a lot of big movies coming out this summer, so I think that helps as well.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest movie that's gonna be coming out this summer, next year, like Inside Outs and stuff like that. So I think that'll also help it a bit, is that there just hasn't been very good movies out. Peter Luck asks, are you guys going to do a show about the 40th anniversary of the original Secret Wars? We tend not to do older stories unless they tie into the stuff going on. The show usually just focuses on modern comics, but I'm sure if you guys ask a specific question about Secret Wars, we'll talk about it. But yeah, probably not on that one. And also, there's just too many anniversaries, man. It feels like every week there's a new anniversary for a Marvel or DC comic.
Yeah, right. Tell me about it. But yeah, Cassandra Nova, Tevia mentions Cassandra Nova in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's a good villain. I don't see why not. She's, the evil twin of, Professor Xavier. And I think that's badass right there. And there's just so many like little things in this trailer that that has me wondering, like, what the hell is going on in this movie, right? There's
it didn't reveal too much though, which I liked. Yeah, we don't even know what the plot is. And Tevye asks, will it help the MCU? Yeah, I honestly do think it could help the MCU if it does well, because it just needs to inject something back to superhero movies.
If it sets something up, I think it will reignite the interest for the MCU again. It only takes one really good movie to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Who knows if they sat there and they, show a glimpse of the Fantastic Four, or they show something, or something else, or what if it's a secret ending or a credit scene to where somehow they're bringing the Avengers back again? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you don't know. I'm not saying obviously any of that's going to happen, but that's all it needs. And this place is going to explode. It's like X-Men 97. I don't think anybody really anticipated that show being as good as it actually is, right? And so I think a lot of people now are buying those comics again, those old school comics, and it's got people talking, right? So just think of a good movie, what it will do in the comic world also.
Female, the Silver Surfer, I think we talked about in a previous episode, so just go back to that one. The infamous Mike Manhattan mentions a couple of movies coming out: Fall Guy, Planet of the Apes, and Ferocia. I never know how to pronounce her name. The one from Mad Max. Yeah, but are those huge movies? Not really. Fall Guy is a new property, so we'll see if that comes together. Planet of the Apes, this is the 10th one.
Fall Guy is based off of an old TV show from the 80s.
Which one?
Fall Guy.
I didn't even know that. See, as someone who's
you wouldn't. Because I used to watch that when I was really, really young, and it was a weekly show. I think it was like an hour long. It was called Fall Guy.
And then Quiet Place, Twisters. Again, Quiet Place is the third one. When the second one came out, not many people were talking about it. Twisters, that one I'll give. I think that might get some buzz. Again, look, there's blockbusters coming out, but is there is there an end game? Is there even Flash coming out? Like, there's not, besides Deadpool and Wolverine. Look, Oppenheimer and Barbie came out last week. Is there a movie like that coming out this year? In my opinion, no. But I think Deadpool and Wolverine is the closest big movie.
I think that will be the biggest movie, in my opinion. Unless there's some underdog movie that comes out of nowhere and sits there and sparks interest, And
I hope it does. Look, I'm a weekly moviegoer. I love going to movies. I literally am drinking from my AMC cup. I went to the movie just before. Like, I love the movies. It's just that I've been honestly pretty disappointed with the movies that came out this year so far. But hopefully there's a few diamonds in the rough. Okay, cool. Let's go into our main topic here. So we're going to go through the solicit for the absolute power and go and talk about that. First, well, I guess the things I want to talk about after looking through the solicit, A, is the rumor that there's this alternate universe that's going to be connected to this. And B, something we already talked about a little bit was, is DC doing events right? Well, let's go through title by title first. So first you have, let's see, I think this is the main title. So you have like Amanda Waller with the failsafe, and you had Superman and Wonder Woman related there. And here's some names you got. This is Absolute Power Ground Zero, so it's going to be a one shot. you got some heavy hitters. Mark Waid, Joshua Williamson, Nicole Maines, who's been doing the Suicide Squad stuff, Chip Zdarsky. These are the big names, that's connected to Superman, connected to Batman, and even connected to Amanda Waller. So I like seeing that, but it goes back to the ultimate thing where they're like, Scott Snyder's returning to DC Universe. And that's why I didn't really want to talk about that, because this doesn't really feel like that. Maybe I'll be completely wrong and they will still do this Ultimate Universe stuff, but I feel like that's a true rumor. I don't know if Scott Snyder is really going to come back to DC.
I don't know, man. I have been hearing that he is attached to it, so I don't.
This doesn't feel like this. Feels like this universe, Maybe it will go a different direction, but this feels like what we've been seeing from DC Comics in the past.
I mean, I just think that there's going to be this, and based off of what happens from this, that's when Scott Snyder does his thing.
Look, the one thing I will say, if Scott Snyder takes over, he left DC because there wasn't as much control. If he's able to make his own universe, that's something.
Right.
Substack didn't do as well as everyone planned. So he left to do that stuff. So that's the only thing I could really see. And look, I think it'd be a cool idea, but I also think it could just be a rumor. All right, so next up is the issue 1 of Absolute Power, Dan Moore and Mark Waid. That's what Marvel, in my opinion, has to do. You got to get your 2 biggest heavy hitters and make a book about it, right? And that's what they're doing here. They're getting their heavy hitters.
Yeah, it looks like Mark Waid is like in control of this entire event, and so that's what you need to do, because then it's consistent across the board. You know what I'm saying?
And next is the task force element. So I think there's like 3 of them. So you got Mary Marvel in one issue, and then like the next issue, which I'm very excited for. You got Carol Ferris in one of them coming up. So I'm very excited for that. Which I mean they've been kind of building up to in Green Lantern. I want to get to that page actually. There we go. There's Carol. You got some of the JSA. You got a lot of cool players in this series so far.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that's a cool cover. Yeah, that is really cool.
Let me see. Yeah, Carol's like in the forefront, which I love. Looks like she's going to be doing stuff at JSA. Let's see. That's all the task force stuff. So you're just focusing on different guys. Look at that art.
What is that?
Right? Isn't that crazy?
It's a little creepy if you ask me.
It looks a little AI to me.
Yeah, like what is that? Like, there's that little girl that's there.
Yeah, that's creepy. I'm guessing this is an issue too, but let's see. No, this is Origins. So this is John Ridley doing the writing for that, who did that Batman story like 2 years ago with the other, I forget the other Batman's name already, but it's like the son of Lucius Fox, I think. All right, let's see. Zatanna's here. That's cool. Haven't seen her in a long time.
Oh, damn. That's a lot of
Superman,
covers
actually.
For Superman.
Yeah.
Who's writing that one?
That's Joshua Williamson.
Oh, Joshua Williamson. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's all the Absolute stuff, actually. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Honestly, like, it kind of gets me excited. Like, they're just every single... this is an event where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to skip an issue. Like, every issue looks really cool.
Yeah, no, this event sounds like it's really good. I feel like they're trying to do a good job at making it consistent, at least the main event anyway. And then there's going to be the other books on top of it. I really think what comes out of this is going to be the big thing. So if this leads into Scott Snyder doing an Absolute comics where it's like different versions of the characters, is it like Ultimate Universe? Yeah, it probably is. But if he's in control of it, that could be a good thing. That could be a great thing. I just felt like DC has always had like different Earth stuff more than Marvel. So it's like, I don't know if it's going to be as impactful, right? So I don't know, but I think it could be a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go into some of the other news pieces here, because honestly, believe it or not, there's a lot of news pieces here. So that was Absolute Power. I'm gonna mark that down. Gail Simone and Eddie Barrows is going to be doing a story arc for Action. No, honestly, like I really do think, and again, this is coming from, I keep rooting for DC this week, but this is coming from a Marvel fan. Like, I think DC's kind of been hitting in all cylinders. The Action Comics idea, they've been struggling with that for such a long time. And then first you had the Jason Aaron thing, and then it's like, oh, Joshua Williamson's doing this huge thing with their Brainiac story. And then you bring in Gail Simone. That's amazing. Like it gets me. It's a good way to have a Superman book and an Action comic books at the same time. And just make it arc by arc, and I think that's really smart.
I think Rainbow Royale is doing a story as well.
Yeah,
in this,
Lois in the backup Lois story, which I think is perfect for her.
Right. So, I mean, hey, I'm not sitting there. I'm not jumping up and down for Gail Simone writing a Superman story. It doesn't like excite me. It's like, okay, good. She's writing a Superman story. Like she's definitely capable of doing it. Why hasn't she written one before in the past? Right. So at least now she gets an opportunity to do it. And hopefully she can prove herself that she can do it. You know, Superman's been a lot better. And let's hope that they can continue the momentum of this.
Sure. All right, let's get into the next thing, which is Marvel to explore the cosmic side with like this 2009 event. I know we talked a little bit about it last week. Now we're getting more details about that. I know you're reading the 2009 stories.
I do. And you know, for me, they have not been that great. Mm-hmm. I think Peter David's Spider-Man right now is really good. But the ones from last year or previous years doesn't really excite me. The characters, I don't know. It's just, why are we doing all this 2099 stuff, right? Is it really needed? Can we not come up with anything different? Right? It's the same old characters just in a 2099 version. And now we have Annihilation 2099. So you're going to get all these new characters. I think I remember seeing like there's going to be Silver Surfer 2099. There's Nova 2099. So all these like cosmic characters that you know now, you're just getting 2099 versions of them, you know, and that's it. So I don't know. I don't think it's a very original idea. Like, because you're like, oh, look, I can get a Nova and call him Nova 2099. We're just going to change his costume a little bit. What are you going to do for Silver Surfer 2099? Is this like surfboard going to be a little different? You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just for me, 2099 universe was fine when you had Spider-Man 2099 and you had the few additional characters. Now you're just blowing it all out of proportion. It's almost like you're making it another Ultimate Universe, which is do you need that too?
No, I agree, especially with again, like characters that people aren't as invested in with the Ultimate Universe. People are more invested in. All right, moving on to Fence returning. I'll go short on this, but cool. I'm glad it's a series that has lasted so long. I do think it lost me a little bit in the previous volume, but it's cool to see that it's going in so many different versions. You had the single issues ongoing, then it was a graphic novel, now it's like mini series. So I'm glad it's a book that's been surviving for the people that are huge fans of it. So I don't know if I'll get the next issue. If it's a light week, I probably will, but if not, I might skip it. This one's interesting. So Red Band Werewolf by Night book is coming out. I think it's so interesting that Marvel's investing in this Red Band stuff without knowing how people are going to react to it. They're like, we're going to do all this Red Band stuff because we know it's going to be big, and no one's really talking about it.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm getting Blood Hunt, and I'm getting Blood Hunt Red Band because I want to see.
Does it come out in the same week, the Red Bands? I feel like I would just get the Red Band.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
I'll just get the bloody one.
But see, I don't want to get just the bloody one. I want to get the rated PG-13 one.
Right, you want to see the difference.
Yeah, and I want to see the difference, and I want to compare them.
But all the way through, you're going to do that? Because I can see that doing with the first issue, but if I hate the event, I don't know if
I'll so like, what I know right now is that there's an 8-page difference between the two. and you're paying $1 extra for the 8 pages. So then I want to see how much like bloodier it is. And I want to see if there's curse words in it. I want to see how explicit it actually is that you have to polybag a comic book, right? So I really am curious to see, or if it's just like obviously a cash grab, just like anything else.
It's a big cash grab. Get double the comics. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But if it's different, if it's like, oh my God, I can't believe Marvel actually did this, like, then it's worth it, right? I think it's good. So we'll see. I'm going to definitely compare the two, at least for the first issue. And then if it's that much of a difference, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it. Who knows? I'm stupid that way sometimes. I like to buy multiple of the same comic book, so.
I could see myself doing it for the first issue, but I think even if I love it, I think I'd just be like, I'm going to get the R-rated one because that's the one where I'm going to get the meat out of. So we'll see for sure. All right, next up is Aliens vs. Avengers. This is a huge event for them. They've had Aliens for a while. Jonathan Hickman's doing it, so Hickman's kind of like fully back at Marvel. Yeah. I like Aliens. I don't know if I'm fully invested to get, I don't know, maybe I would get the first issue. I feel like I'd get the first issue just because it's such a weird combination.
I might buy that one when it comes to Aliens for sure. Right. Because if it's Hickman and the Avengers are attached to it. It could be big. Yeah, that might be a lot of fun. We got a couple comments. They're like, well, why does Blood Hunt have, 56 issues?
You don't have to get all of them. Just get the main. That's how I always see it.
Again, it's affecting the entire Marvel universe. So if there's books that you are reading that are ongoing, that's what it is. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just like me, like Blood Hunt is affecting Spider-Man. Do I read Spider-Man?
Yeah, so you get that one.
So I'm buying Spider-Man. Blood Hunt's affecting Captain America. Am I going to buy Captain America? Fuck no. I'm not buying that because he's just dealing with some kind of vampire story. That's all it is, right? So just read the main event. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Which is like 5 to 6 issues, whatever it is.
Yeah, and then just read whatever you currently reading there. That's all. And then there's a few other, I know there's a few other spin-off books, though, on top of it.
All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is Witchblade. I want to talk about this. So it's finally returning. They've been preparing this for a while. I remember this is connected to their Kickstarter from 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
So this is Marguerite Bennett. Finally, this book is coming out. I like Witchblade. I'm going to check it out. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. I'm very curious about why. Why does it take so long?
I'll buy it too. I mean, I just didn't really have anything to say about it. I think I read some Witchblade when I was younger.
Right.
Obviously I did because it was I was a teenager and it was a hot chick in a comic book. And I'm like, oh, it's Witchblade. That's pretty cool. I'm like, and she had these powers and it was Image Top Cow back then. So it's just yeah, why not? And we read that series. Remember when it came out recently, a few years back? There was,
and I thought that was a decent one.
Yeah, it was halfway decent. It was a little bit different take on the character, right? So that was interesting. So I don't know.
Like Witchblade, it's always fun, We'll see what this one's about, but I definitely pick it up. All right, moving on to Jason Aaron, returning in Marvel for Namor. The reason not because I want to talk about Namor, but the reason I want to talk about it is just that Jason Aaron didn't leave for that long. And then he's like, you know what, I'm going to do Namor.
But now he looks like he's just doing everything.
Yeah, do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's doing DC, he's doing Marvel, he's doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So he's doing everything. So he's not just exclusive to Marvel anymore. So it looks like it's just so he has more work, right? So
he's like, let's do Namor.
But when it comes to this freaking stuff, there's no way, man.
I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, I don't care about Namor.
You got to tell, even if there was something so huge that changed the Marvel Universe, I'd be like, oh, you tell me about it. So I'm not reading it. Unless there's a character I love in it, I'm good. The next thing is that Saga's returning in July. The reason I wanted to talk about this is I just thought it was really interesting that what's his face? What's his freaking name?
Brian
The
K.
writer
Vaughan?
of the book. Yes, Brian K. Vaughan. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of my favorite writers, blanked on his name. I thought it was just interesting the way he like worded why it takes so long. He's just like, the most important thing in the world to me is working with Fiona Staples next to my family. That's the most important thing. And I was like, you know what? That's interesting that you guys such a long running indie book and you want to keep it that consistent. So as much as I hate the hiatuses, it's cool that you don't want that replacement artist. You genuinely want this to be a complete series. So I thought that
I can respect that. It just, unfortunately for me, like, you know, it took how long of a break? What was it? 10 years?
It's been
5 years, 6 years.
I don't think it was 10. I think probably like closer to 5.
5. I just, when you take that long of a break and then you take another break and then you take another break, and it's been a long time now since the last issue came out, this book has lost all of its momentum for me. Like I can't even be excited for it because I don't even remember what has happened in this comic book anymore. And it's kind of sad because it is a well-written comic. It's the universe, the opportunities and everything that happens is endless in here, but it just does not have the same momentum as it did when it first came out and when it first finished, you know?
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I hope that when this next issue comes out, it's like, okay, you could just jump in and just be like, I get it. But I hope it's not like, you have to remember that other issue that you read like 7 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to Kelly Thompson is writing a Powerpuff Girls series for Dynamite, and I love Powerpuff Girls, and she said it's going to be like in the vein of It's Jeff, so that's really fun. I love that idea.
See that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. I think Greg Pak is a good example of like what he was doing with Lilo and Stitch. It's like be able to write these characters and make it an all-age tale without making it feel really repetitive. So I'm definitely checking that out. After that, this is something that came out today. Post Malone and Michael Bay are doing like a vault story. Like
I saw this and I'm like, wait a second, is this real life?
Yeah. First of all, I'm a huge Posty fan. I love Post Malone, so I was already really excited about that. Then I saw Michael Bay. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. But I'm picking this up for Posty, so I'm very excited for it.
I don't even know what to expect out of this when this comes out. This is going to be wild. So I don't know. This will take a while. So, you know, we'll have to be reminded that this is going to be coming out.
I'm sure we'll have to be reminded, but we'll be reviewing it on the show for sure. All right, last but not least, this is huge news as well. Power Rangers is coming to an end at Boom. And I think there's two things to talk about here. As the Power Rangers fan, I'm sad to see it go, but I can understand wanting to wrap it. It's done. It's done. It's the way they're wording it. They're like, this is the last issue. So my guess, and that's why I wanted to talk about this as a whole, is that did they lose the license? Are they going to reboot it? Like, what's going on? And what does this mean for Boom? That was like their big franchise. Like they still have Something's Killing the Children. They're still trying to build like more of their creator-owned stuff. But Magic and Buffy is not as big for them. Like Power Rangers was their big series. My jaw was on the floor, if I'm being honest. I just didn't see it coming.
Do you think they don't want the IP anymore? They don't want to pay
I think they lost the if they really are ending it and there's no more, I think they lost the IP. That's my guess. Because that was a cash cow for them.
I guess. That's crazy. It said 8 years, right? It said 8 years.
And it's been going since, and they've launched so many titles. It's just, and again, a lot of Kickstarters. That huge. There's so many huge Kickstarters they did with Power Rangers. Like the Amy Jo Johnson one was for that. So I'm just like, I hope I'm sure it'll end well. Like I think it's been really consistent. If I have to look at that, I think it's really cool to see a series that has lasted 8 years and there's not been a bad arc. If I'm being honest, there's never been an arc where I'm like, oh, I really don't like Power Rangers. Like it's always been really consistent. But yeah, I don't know what this means. Maybe they're making it more dramatic, but the way they worded it, and I think the press release is from Boom, is like, oh, it's been 8 years. It's like, it's such a weird way to word it if they're just going to reboot it.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn, I remember when it first came out.
Which is sad to say for how long we've been doing
and I'm not even a Power Rangers fan, but I remember it came out because I remember all the variant covers
Yeah,
where it
I
was
remember
like
you
all the
tried it out.
where the Power Rangers all had their, holding the helmets and stuff like that. And it was wild, man. I am shocked that either it's ending and they're letting it go, or maybe it's just one of those things where it's like it's the end for now.
What do you think
Like
this means for a Boom if it really is the end for Power Rangers? Do you
I
feel
don't think
like
I don't think it will affect the company. I
you
think
don't?
Yeah, no. I think Boom has grown quite a bit where they don't need to rely on properties to make money for them. They have a lot of good
There's
series.
something's killing the children.
Yeah, they have a lot of other series out there where they make money on. I feel like companies that rely on IP, uh, a lot of IP, I think they're the ones that get in trouble, like IDW. Everything they
Sure.
had is IP. Now I worry about Dynamite because
They're doing the
Dynamite is
same.
a company that literally has now everything they have is properties, right?
Especially Disney now. They've been doing a lot of
Thundercats.
Disney.
Yeah, they have Thundercats. They're doing Space Ghost.
Mm,
They have Red Sonja.
Vampirella.
Vampirella. They have all these different IPs, and I feel like if their sales drop or if they're not selling a lot, then they're going to get in trouble. That's why they do a lot of Kickstarters, I'm sure too.
Yeah, they've moved the backer kit too. They've been
Yeah.
doing a lot of different stuff.
Like I promoted they just got Terminator. And so I just promoted a Terminator.
That was a backer kit. It wasn't even a Kickstarter. It was a backer kit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's doing well. It's raised like $140,000. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like you need to have your own stuff. And I think,
balance it out.
Yeah, and I think like they have more of their own stuff now.
They do, and they've been getting bigger writers. Jeff Lemire just jumped on. Tom King has their own book over there. So, yeah, no, they definitely got a lot going on. I just think when I think about the convention circuit, they rely a lot on Power Rangers and like variant covers and stuff like that.
It's definitely not the last that we'll see of Power Rangers, though.
I'm sure. I just wonder if it's not Boom who has them.
Right.
you know? I mean, those books are great. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I was shocked by that one too. It's just like, well, I kind of wish that Brant was on for this because he has also been reading Power Rangers. So I wanted to see what his thoughts are. But I'm sure we'll be talking about it as it goes on. But July is going to be a big month. It's again, it's this absolute power stuff. It's Power Rangers. It's a lot. So
yeah.
Post Malone. Let's dive into most anticipated. I'm going to pass on the baton.
Okay, cool. Let me just switch it over real quick to the next page. All right, so our most anticipated, Brant didn't write in his, but I would probably say that his would be Ultimate Spider-Man issue 4.
I think
that's our number one. Yours and I's number one. So we'll just talk about that one right from there. I mean, I guess Gwen Stacy's going to be this different artist this issue. So it'll be interesting to see the book with a different artist on how the feel will be. But I'm sure the story will definitely be there, right? So definitely excited about that one. Your number 3 and my number 2 is Feral issue 2.
Ended in a good spot. We know Tony Fleeks knows how to progress a story. I'm excited about it. Issue 1 was pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the character the cat's interactions, and I feel bad for these animals on what they're going to go through. Fleece really knows how to invoke all these character like cat emotions or dog emotions, and if you're an animal lover, you're going to get a heavy heart in this comic book.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so your number 2 is actually Jackpot and Black Cat issue 2, which out of all the comics that are coming out, I'm surprised that was in your top 3.
The reason why is I'm anticipating it, right? Do I think it's going to be my number 2 or number 1 next week? I don't know, but I want to see if it can improve, if I'm being honest. Like I want to, because I think this book could be really, really fun and maybe even in my top 5 if it just focuses on them and just focuses on their relationship. Because there were stuff I liked about issue 1, and it was when they were interacting with each other, when we got to see Black Cat with her girlfriend, and I'm like, okay, if it focuses on that, I think it could be a lot of fun. That's why I ended up picking it. There are other books out there, but I'm like, I'm actually anticipating to see what direction that book's gonna go. Again, will it be the best book out this week? I don't know, but
yeah, we'll see what that second issue has to deal with. If Paul died, that would have been the great. That'd be the
it
best.
could. You never know. It
Yeah.
could happen.
Mary Jane, I loved you. I never loved you, Paul.
That'll be maybe that'll be issue 4, but
Yeah,
that'll
right.
be an issue 2.
Oh man. And then my number 3 is Duke issue 5. So this is the conclusion to Duke.
Oh, that's crazy. It's already ending.
Yeah, it's the first like Energon book that is actually over.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna get to see Duke like infiltrate Destro's weapon operations area. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. So yeah, and then that's it. That's our most anticipated.
That is the show.
So let's see. We got one question here from Parker Luck. What's that? Matt Bird. Okay, besides all the different comics that you both read, I was wondering, what is your favorite newspaper comics that you still love? Could that be a topic of discussion sometime?
I think if we read newspaper comics, that could be, but I don't. Honestly, when I read newspaper comics, it was Spider-Man. Look, Spider-Man's in the newspaper.
So I would read Spider-Man when he was on there. I think I would read Garfield, Dennis the Menace, Family Circle. Like, dude, it's been so long,
right,
that I don't even remember. But Garfield.
I think I read Garfield.
Yeah, so. But yeah, that was that.
So yeah, I don't think that could be a topic for a whole video, as you just saw. It took us, it made me a minute now we could talk about it. But look, those comics are great. I love the cartooning for them. I think it's a whole nother medium, if I'm being honest. Like, it's a whole nother craft that we just didn't grow up on as much as other comics. So
I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind reading like
a collection
from start to end of all the Spider-Man comic strips. That would be cool.
They ended, right? They don't do them anymore.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't remember. Did they create them specifically for the newspapers, or were they like just reprints? Because
no, they were separate stories.
They specifically made it for that. Yeah, no, I don't remember what happened to them. I just remembered I saw Spider-Man and I read it. That's the only thing I really remember reading. And then again, like, you'd see your Garfields and whatever, but newspapers also don't really exist the way they used to. So
no, absolutely not. Different times, man. We're lucky to still have comic books.
We are. And it's so funny. I saw like a Kickstarter or something it's called like, oh, comic books are dying or whatever. It's like a sarcastic joke. It's like, oh, for a century people have been saying that comic books are dying, and we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. I remember we were talking about digital comics like
decade ago.
Man, it had to be like 10 years ago we were talking about it, and we're like, oh man, it's physical comics going to go away, and 10 years later they're still here. Do I think maybe they might go away? Maybe yes, in the future, but I don't think they're going to go away like anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it will go away when books go away.
And I don't even think books are going to really go away. I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that just really get more engaged in the physical medium. It's just something about that, something tangible in your hands. It's different.
I know I enjoy reading physically more, for sure. Just you absorb it a bit more. You're not reading it as quickly. Like, I don't love it when I have to read things digitally, but sometimes your store doesn't have a book, or you're away for the week and you don't have another way to read it. So
right. Exactly. All right, guys. So with that, I think we're going to sign off for tonight. Again, we have a new comic book day coming out tomorrow, or is it It's
It's
still
still
not
tomorrow.
tomorrow
Still
yet.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes away until tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will find everything that you're looking for. I will be doing my new comic book day haul tomorrow. And I'm actually going to be filming at my shop tomorrow for
Nice.
new comic book for free comic book day.
Yes,
So
it's
yeah,
coming soon. I will
yeah,
not be
that's
in
next
town for
week.
free comic book day, so I got to figure out how I'm getting those
Yeah,
books. I got to just make them, put them to the side. I hate not getting it on the
I
Saturday,
know.
so
Yeah.
we'll
So we're
see.
doing our yearly video. So I'll be going to the shop tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, filming all the books that are getting ready to come out. So I
That's
think
fun.
that's going to be a lot of fun. Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So thank you for watching as always. Hopefully, Brant and all of us will be on next week. And as always, make sure you give this stream a like, whether it's on Comic Book Corner 2.0 or Comic Book Weekly. Subscribe to our channels, follow us on social media, hit the bell, do all that great stuff, guys. And with that being said, we're going to give the final wave for tonight, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.